Ladies and gentlemen, may I also request that whilst we are having this conversation on stage, you start beginning to ask those questions that you would like our panelists to address, so that we can keep it as interactive as possible. There will be a time where I pause here and then we just leave it to the floor and we just really start having that conversation amongst ourselves, so that we can keep it really as practical as possible. Because, Leah, ultimately, if we do not find solutions to the hurdles that we're confronted with on a daily basis, especially within the leadership positions that we occupy, whether in corporate, whether in civic organizations, whether in government, we're going to be back here next year having the same kind of discussions. And we would never have moved the needle forward, and we will not be having a progress report, but rather a repetition report. Right? So in being able to foster that intentionality around how do we start collaborating.
I'm going to give this example. Back home in my country, in Zambia, there is a thing that women do. It's called chilimba. Now, when you look at the concept of chilimba, when you bring it to the formal side, it's basically what you call your mutual funds or the collective investment schemes, because you pool funds together and then invest in various products. But what the women do, this chilimba arrangement, so women will come together, put money together, and then if there's 5 of us, so when we put our money together, the first person gets that money and they do something with it. The second, third, fourth, and it goes round in the cycle. And when it started, women used it to get household products, improve their lives, etc. But what we are seeing now is it's grown. They're now doing what they're calling village banking. So the women are now pulling in more funds, and then they're giving each other loans at very low interest rates, and then you're seeing them financing business ideas, etc. But then there's a dealing, because then it's not in the formal sector. So the question is, private sector, where are you? So, come on board and let us make tailored products which can also speak to what the women are looking for. So I think collaboration is quite critical.
In the spirit of that collaboration, oftentimes what we find is women and female, or businesses in general, given where we've been coming from for the last 4 years or so, they're in survival mode. So how then do we start transitioning from a survivalist business to a success-oriented business to a significant business?
Okay. I guess the critical issue is even to start by saying we have really seen a lot of success, even amongst women. The only challenge that we have seen is that as we were making good strides towards 2020, and we were even blunt enough as the people to say, we think the informal sector in this country should provide, in the 10 years, the 11 million jobs that we think should take us into a better economy. We could see it coming, we could dream about it, we could even aspire. Yes, then come COVID. And that's what have put us into a serious survivalist mode. Because even those that were able to are now fighting to recover, are fighting to reconstruct. But that does not mean it's all businesses. There are businesses that have actually thrived and succeeded. Now, how do we move between trying to strive, to succeed, but to impact? And at the moment, I think you would have in this country 40% that you say are in success and need to move into significance. And I want maybe to speak to the issue of significance. Many of us are successful, as whether in the corporate or in business or even in the informal environment where you are. The only challenge that I think we need to be able to do is, what is it that I do, and I am seen to make an impact in those that are less than me. That is the significance. The impact that the big businesses that women amongst ourselves are having in the nearing communities, do we do it? Do we see a sense? The significance will be seen in the number of lives you change. The significance is seen in the deliberate going into the community and saying, who has been left behind in this country in terms of development? It's women. Be deliberate in working with women. Maybe move beyond the women of your class. Maybe moving beyond the women of your level. And what Sis Futi was saying. What we would learn in some of the leadership courses is to say, if you move and you continuously find yourselves amongst your peers, you have not started. But the moment you can sit around 100 women and they look at you and say, because I have interacted with this Nolita, my life has changed. And they can show tangibly the impact that has been made. She doesn't have to give money, but some come in ideas that can also go into the environments that Ntabiseng is talking about. Come with the ideas, we finance them, and therefore the impact is seen in the livelihoods of the people. That is the significance that we are talking about. But when we talk about it, it's always easier said than done. Until the women that we come after and who have started, a lot has been started already. Let us always be able to go back and see. Think as an individual, as she says, what am I going to do when I live here? Am I going to look for kids in Orange Farm and try and work there? And I'm saying this because it is practical. It doesn't start with money, it starts with a dream. And if the dream is big enough, it would be able to help the challenges of this country that are very big in terms of the livelihoods of the young and the livelihoods of the women, and let's dream together.
Let's get practical now when it comes to sectors of industry, because sometimes we shoot and we shoot a miss. True. So are there specific sectors of industry that have got greater opportunities for female entrepreneurs to actually succeed, and why?
Okay. I love that question. I wear a few different hats. One hat I wear is with Africa.com, and we partner with Harvard Business School, a professor who has created an online program. I'll plug it. It's free. You can access it. It's called Entrepreneurship in Emerging Economies. It's an online course. It's free if you go to the Harvard Business School website or to the edX website. And this course has been taken almost 1 million times by people in emerging economies around the world. And I think that what is very useful about the framework for this course is the professor who led the course is Indian. And the framework that he uses is that in emerging economies like South Africa, there are a lot of gaps that government doesn't provide. And I don't have to tell you what those gaps are in this room. You know how many there are and where we are in this country. And if you as an entrepreneur focus on filling some of those gaps, those become hugely scalable businesses and sustainable businesses and businesses that can have a big impact. You know, so one example, there was a student who took this course in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, the distribution of blood is non-existent. If you get into a car accident in Nigeria and your family comes to the hospital, you're not doing well and you need blood, the family's on the phone, phoning around, you know, do you know anyone who has A+? You know, can you get somebody here who can donate? And there's no organized system for distributing blood. And so one of the students who took that course saw that as a real need and has created a blood bank that's kind of connected. It's like the Uber of blood banks. I mean, there's better ways to do this, but now if you're in Nigeria and you find yourself in that situation, they have a blood bank and they'll send it directly to the hospital. That's serving a real need. It's been scaled, they're making money, but also having a very big impact. So I think that rather than saying, you know, this, you know, agriculture or this or that, I think that solving real problems in emerging economies creates a multitude of opportunities that can also have a big impact.
Zambia?
Thanks. I wanted to just add to that because in solving for these critical issues that SA Inc. would have and identifying an opportunity there for yourself, most probably government has preempted that as well. So you'll find that there are master plans. And I think it's important to understand the master plans. You can find them on the DTIC website because they will tell you what the sector focuses in terms of what we see as growth as a country or what we see as critical sectors that need a boost and support. But what's good to know is that those master plans usually come with incentives and support programs that make it easier to either enter or grow in that sector. And so you said solve for problems. And we know that through innovation, you drive, economic development, and then there's jobs. But innovation and early stage, there's still a funding gap. So the PIC now is looking at early stage investments to solve for that problem. And you specifically mentioned, whether you take debt or equity. So you find that when you have an early stage investor, they understand the issues and trip-ups that could happen. So the instruments tend to lean more to, something that's responsive, understanding that we're at the beginning of exploring this idea and anything could happen. We could be successful or we could not, and we learn lessons along the way. So maybe just giving a little bit more color as to when you're thinking about where am I supported, the information is there, perhaps knowing where to go to look for it is the gap. Thanks.
I love the fact that we're all adding to this particular question because, as I said, it speaks significantly to us getting very practical about locating those sectors of industry. To add on, Kefiloe?
I think the practical sectors that we sometimes don't even look at. In South Africa, I really believe the sector agriculture has not really been explored enough, but the impact that it can make. In the current challenges that the country faces in terms of food scarcity, if we need to move into food security, I think agriculture should be explored better. I think it can massify. I think it can edify. I think it can bring back the type of agricultural sector that some of us grew up in. That would create food, that would make sure that all of us are able to have food, and then we do not have this hunger we have in the country. The other sectors that I think the country is also talking to that are said to be labor intensive, and that I think there should also be decisiveness in letting women go in there. It's mining. It is labor intensive. It is able to create more jobs, but it is also able to be created in environments where the mine is supposed to give the development to the communities around them. So the impact would be bigger. The other one is the emerging issue that we have now. The energy sector, I think if there is any sector that women in this country should push and go into, is the energy sector, from any level, from the highest level of PPPs or from the beginning. I think that is the sector that the women should be able to be pushed into, and we should see and should be able to just get into it. It's new to all of us. It's not only to men. It's new to the country. All of us can go in there and make a difference for the rest of the country.
I really love that. Thank you very much. I'm literally looking at the time, and they do say that time flies when you're having fun. So we've been having way too much fun, I think, for this particular session. Ladies, what I'm going to ask is just closing remarks. And I think in that closing remarks, can you give us a marching order in terms of think about this or start here so that it doesn't become an abstract conversation, but it is a conversation that we can come out of and say, I walked away with something tangible from this particular discussion. So as I ask for your closing remarks in terms of how do I start? Nike says just do it, but I need direction to do it. So maybe let's start off with you, Leah, as well, in terms of if you had to take a gander at what exactly has been happening, not only in the South African context, but really continentally in terms of opportunities being opened up to women, but how many of them are realizing the fruits of those opportunities. Where do we start with our marching orders? What do we need to think about that perhaps we're not thinking about as yet?
Thank you for that. And as we go, I think two key things that we need to take away: collaboration and being intentional. And in that, we also just want to be alive to one of the topical issues, and that is climate change and climate risks. Because with that, then there's a lot of opportunity that has come in. She spoke about energy, so we are seeing a lot of opportunity in renewable energy. So I think as we are heading back, we need to think from an intentional perspective: what can I do? How can I do it? And where can I access the information? I think there is a lot out there. People just need to know where to go to get the information, where to go to get the support. There are a lot of organizations that are giving the support. And then when we talk about the collaborative efforts, let's do more. to explore collaboration. In closing, I just want to highlight that I am an alumni of the IFC Milken Institute Capital Markets Program. So this program was designed to upskill, give knowledge, skill, experience to upcoming financial experts in various countries. And the Mosepa Foundation has been a key support partner in that. And from such collaborative efforts, today we are seeing over 45 countries represented with such a huge network and partnerships around that. So collaboration is quite critical. So we need to have this mindset change. Like she was saying, it's not just my idea. Let's actually start having the conversations of, you know, how can we do this? If you put your minds together with mine, how can we actually scale up? How can we actually take advantage of the opportunities that are out there? So I think for me, what is critical is collaboration and being intentional.
I love it. Collaboration, being intentional. Dr. Kefiloe, in 30 seconds. This is the broadcasting side of mine that comes out now for a little bit, but in 30 seconds.
Thank you very much. I really think let's collaborate, let's work together, let's share ideas. My impact will be seen if your impact is added to my impact. And let us go and be deliberate to work together. Progress is possible, impact is possible if we do together. One dream can be smaller if it is done by one, but more dreams together can help the nation grow. Thank you.
Doc, I appreciate you. Zama, show us the money. Where is the money?
I mean, we can chat, and there are some people from, various spaces in the financial services sector. So my takeaway is engage and plug in. So I think in sisterhoods, we talk about the boys' club, and we always complain about it. Like, join the girls' clubs that already exist. There's WeCorner. So when you plug in, the discussion is now elevated. It's not about your business. It's about bigger issues and how you jointly, collaboratively solve for those issues. Because when you go as WeCorner and they say, we're not happy about this, they will be heard. But if you're one businesswoman, struggling in a corner, nobody can do anything or intervene. So plug in, and maybe I just wrote something, woman, you can do it, Black woman, you can do it, and reduce that voice of self-doubt that tells you that you can't or you don't belong. Own your space. And that's something I tell myself, and that's my kind of parting shots to the ladies in this room around entrepreneurship. Just do it.
I love it. Just do it. Teresa?
Everything. These ladies have said everything, so there's not much more for me to add. I would just reiterate the just do it theme. And I think own finance as women. I think that's the message that I would want to leave you with. Demystify it. There's nothing that we do in finance that's more complicated than addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And I know everyone in this room can do those 4 things. So don't allow people to use vocabulary and terms and concepts that may sound fancy and intimidating, but know that you can own finance as a woman.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a round of applause. I think a parting shot from what we've heard throughout the conversation from the panelists today is it starts off with the belief amongst us as women that we're actually worth being wealthy. And perhaps that should be the theme, that because if we do not believe that we are worth wealth, we will not pursue wealth. And maybe that should be the parting shot that we leave you with this afternoon, is that you are worth wealth.
Wow. Yes.
That is what you are worth. You are worth wealth. Money is for you. And I do thank you to my guests. I thank you to my panelists, Teresa Clarke, Chairperson and CEO of Africa.com, Zama Khanyile, Divisional Executive at National Empowerment Fund. We've also got Public Investment Corporation and the member of the Advisory Council of the African Women Chartered Accountants Forum. Let me get that right. And of course, we've got Leah Simasiku as well, who is a seasoned financial sector professional, manager of marketing supervision at the Securities and Exchange Commission in Zambia, and of course, Dr. Kefiloe Masiteng, who is the head of Resident Coordinator's Office, United Nations, South Africa. Thank you so much for your insights. And I know for a fact that the woman will be networking with you today. Please give them a round of applause.